Hello, everybody. My name is Karen Montes Sosa, and this is my signature assignment for class LSE 401, Designing Learning Environments for Inclusion. Um, my topic of choice is equity versus equality in the workplace. So, today, the objective of this workshop is that I want to teach you what an inclusive workplace looks like, what an inclusive design is in terms of equality and equity, how you can make your workplace more inclusive by creating equality and equity states, and finally, how to address inequalities. So, this may seem that it is only for corporate leaders, and yeah, they are my main focus, but this knowledge is beneficial to everybody. It goes for employers and employees as well, because employees are the ones experiencing this inclusive design, these states of equality and equity. So everybody can benefit from this. So so first of all, what is equity and equality? They're very similar words with only two letters in difference, but they make uh, their differences in definition are enormous. You know, equality is a state of giving everyone the same resources and opportunities to reach a certain goal, while equity is the state of realizing that some people have different needs and may need more or less support than others in order to reach a goal. Accommodating people's resources to give everyone a fair chance. This will include everyone because we're all different. So that's why I mentioned how it is important for not just employers but employees to pay attention and to know about this. So, what is the issue surrounding equality and equity in the workplace right now? It's honestly really simple. Companies are ignoring demographic related needs, and instead, all employees fall under the same blanket of privilege, rules, and experience design. Um, so, what does this mean? Employers are not digging into their diverse employees and finding out what they need in order to strive. They are just giving everyone an equal baseline. So let me give you an example of my workplace. Um, During when the pandemic happened, we all were the office shut down and we were all forced to go work from home. So the company gave everybody $750 to buy office equipment if they didn't, have any, because now we're all working from home, so we needed a space and supports. So I thought, wow, great, you know, what a generous thing to do. It was a lot of money, and I thought, everybody's going to be able to get a monitor, a desk, everything they need in order to be successful in their home office. But then this is where equity comes in. Some people started reaching out and saying, I don't have $750 to spend right now, because the policy was that you spend the money and then the company would reimburse you at a later time. So people came out and said, I can't spend this money right now and wait for you guys to reimburse me. So what can we do? The company hadn't thought about that. And as inclusive, as they are and everything, they missed that equity part, that some people could not afford to spend the $750 all at once and wait for the reimbursement. So then, you know, they reached out and said, if you cannot spend the money, please reach out and we have a plan in place to help these people out. That is what equity means. Now, Forbes has a step-by-step guide of what you need in order to reach equity. The first thing you need is diversity. You need to have a diverse population, because you're not going to be able to research these demographics if all your employers are, kind of the same. So first we need diversity and inclusion, and then equality. But then from that equality stems the equity. Just like I mentioned here, we were all given $750, but then you need to reach the equity state of that equality. So I want you guys to think of a time where you thought you were experiencing equality, but equity was lacking. So take your time, and I bet you're going to think of a moment, and it doesn't have to be in the workplace. It can be life in general, where you thought like equality was being enforced, but you're missing the equity part. So universal design and equity. How does universal design apply to create equity in the workplace? Well, so what is universal design? Well, it's actually a legal term. This is from by law. Um, Universal design is the composition of environment so that it may be accessed and understood and used by everybody, regardless of the natural state of people, regardless of situations of people. So we have this sign here, restrooms ahead. What if somebody is visually impaired and cannot see that sign? So therefore, we need universal design would be having like an audio or a braille sign as well. And that is equity. So setting these expectations in the workplace, how are we going to do that? For me today, many candidates research a company online, and they look at their website to see, what they're all about. I believe that inclusivity can start there from your web page online. Right now, we're very digital. The world is digital, and it's only continuing to get even more digital. So a website can demonstrate how inclusive a company is by making their website accessible. Now, what does that mean? It means having captions on videos. It means ensuring the content is accessible with the keyboard, being mindful of color schemes, having audio and text, labeling images with descriptions using alt text. I believe if a company's websites demonstrate accessibility, it is very likely that they make their physical design accessible as well. And some of these things include automatic doors, readable signs, different modes of communications such as braille and audio, different accommodations for everyone to be successful at work, not just the single, just equal baseline for everybody. So, how do we make people responsible? Well, HR usually has a diversity training like for new hires, and I'm sure all of you have been part of that at some point. But we need to make sure that that's not the only time the company talks about diversity. We need to hold them accountable for what they said, for what they trained you on. Okay? So I actually want to give you now examples of who is advocating for this right now. There is a company, Women in Tech. It's a nonprofit advocating to close the gender gap within the STEM field. So historically, we all know that there have always been inequalities towards women, which have led to where we stand today. So the founder of Women in Tech saw the need for advocates of women in tech, thus starting the company. So the company, if you go to their website, and I will give the link in another slide right now, but this is how their way of practicing not just equality but equity, because women need more resources because that gap is so big in men and women. So actually, the company is like strictly for women. Um, Someone else who actually kind of paved the way for equality in the workplace was Harvey Milk. He was the first openly gay politician to be elected in California. He pushed legislation to ban discrimination based on sexual orientation in employment. So those are one company and one person that I would recommend you guys research. Um, so I hope that I was able to explain why it is important to realize that our employers are diverse, even if we do not think so, and all employees need different supports to be successful at their job. If you find yourself as a company, as a boss, not having to analyze demographics within your employers, you have a problem. And that's where I would start by first hiring people who are different from you. Um, there have been many studies that suggest that companies with more diverse employers are more profitable than those with less diversity. And here's a direct quote from the article: the important difference between workplace equity and equality by Kelly Services. Equity is key to truly empowering minorities. I think it's a very powerful quote that you really need to think about, sit and think about it, and how you can make these changes in your company, in your workplace. So if you guys want to learn more about this topic, here I have linked a Netflix documentary of Harvey Milk, which I just mentioned, the first openly gay politician in California. He was later assassinated, so um, I would love for you guys to go watch that documentary and see like what he went through. I also have linked here a article by Glassdoor on companies doing a great job with diversity and equality, and then one of the companies that I believe is doing an amazing job, Women in Tech. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you learned something today.